Hello and welcome to another episode of the Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump met in the White House, but we thought they were going to actually be able to hold this press conference a little bit earlier. It turns out they weren't able to do it and they had to go to lunch. Why? Because it looks like President Macron from France, along with the Egyptian president and the King of Egypt, put in a freaking call to the White House and let them know that they want to work on a peace deal. Another peace deal for the Palestinians inside Gaza. You can't make this crap up. And Trump actually confirmed it today. Now, they also went over several other things throughout the meeting, and that's what we're going to be going over. But before we get into all that, I want to show you guys this. Throughout the entire meeting today, China and the tariffs and everything else ended up getting referenced, right? Throughout this whole press conference, they ended up bringing it up. And one of the things that Trump ended up saying was that we might actually impose an additional 50% tariff on China within the next 24 hours in response to their retaliation tariff of 34% that we already threw at them. Can't make this crap up. China already came out and said, not a big deal. We're not going to bend your whim. And so now we are just going to be in this huge tariff battle between the United States and frickin' China. It seems like it's just never going to be ending. And that's just fine. Yep. China said it's not going to bend to the pressure of the United States. Well, China, I don't know if you know this or not, but we really don't care. Most Americans end up not buying your crappy products anyways. And me personally, I would look forward to having some better American-made products. Now, Trump in the White House, yes, he did. He ended up meeting up with Netanyahu. Here's a couple of their sweet little freaking outtakes. I don't understand why they're going to pose for these pictures. I mean, they just look absolutely horrible. Here's your first video clip coming up from the White House press briefing today with Trump and Netanyahu.
We want to get the hostages out. The Israeli people want the hostages out more than anything. They want the hostages out. This man is working very hard with us to do that. I mean, I don't know. I hope he's being appreciated because he's been a great leader. He's working very, very hard on the hostages and many other things. And there are plenty of things you have to work on. It's a tough place in the world.
I have a good partner.
Yeah, you do have a good partner, and so do we. We're working very hard on the hostages.
So while he talked about wanting to get the hostages out, and he was absolutely right, you could actually see there he was like giving Netanyahu a little bit of crap, and he continued to do that throughout the entire freaking process.
You know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate, and I think it's something that we would be involved in, but having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be killed every day. That's a hell of a place. It's you know what I call it, a great location that nobody wants to live in because they really don't. And when they have good living, real living, where Hamas and all of the problems they have, the level of death on the Gaza Strip is just incredible. And I've said it. I don't understand why Israel ever gave it up. Israel owned it. It wasn't this man, so I can say it. He wouldn't have given it up. I know him very well. There's no way. They took oceanfront property.
Only this guy can literally suggest that U.S. troops are going to go inside of the Gaza Strip as peacekeepers after all is said and done, and then turn around and start cutting jokes. That is a major deal. The president of the United States literally just suggested that the U.S. might be putting boots on the ground to go inside of Gaza to be.
I think it's something that we would be involved in, but having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing.
Gaza to be peacekeepers. I don't know if you heard that. I know I sure did. Not a lot of people were able to get that out of there. But that tells you what's at least rolling through his mind as ideas for how to move this situation forward. Now, Netanyahu also ended up coming out a little bit later on in that freaking press briefing, and he said literally that we want to take them in. I.e., when it came to the Gazans over inside of Gaza, after all is said and done, after they have defeated Hamas, that Israel, while they're rebuilding it, because it's going to take a very long time, that they wouldn't be opposed to bringing in the Gazans. Now, I don't know about you. I don't think that's a very good idea, Mr. Netanyahu. Now, Trump also had some harsh words when it came down to Hamas and how they ended up treating the hostages, because you got to remember, President Trump actually met with the hostages not that long ago.
The stories they told me, I mean, as an example, I said to them, Was there any sign of love? You were there, 10 people. It's only 10, but it's pretty representative. Did the Hamas show any signs of, like, help or liking you? Did they wink at you? Did they give you a piece of bread extra? Did they give you a meal on the side, like, you know, you think of doing? Like what happened in Germany, what happened elsewhere. People would try and help people that were in unbelievable distress. They said no. I said, all of them. I said, did they ever wink at you like, you'll be okay, you're going to be okay? No, they didn't do that. They'd slap us. The hatred is unbelievable. And the lives, you know, they lived in a pipe, not really a tunnel, it was a pipe. And they always thought they were suffocating, they were going to suffocate.
Living inside of a pipe would suck, but Trump's absolutely right when it comes to the level of hatred that the Palestinian people have towards the Israelis or any other Westerners that are really out there. Even if you support them, believe it or not, they kind of don't like you. And like Trump just said, those people that were being shoved in those pipes down underground for over a year were still getting slapped upside the head. Their lives sucked and Hamas treated them like crap. And so it absolutely blows my mind, honestly, to this day, that the United States is even considering another peace deal with Hamas or trying to force Israel into doing such a thing, because it's absolute lunacy. Absolute lunacy. And even more so, listen to the words that are about to come out of Bibi's mouth.
And enabling the people of Gaza to freely make a choice, to go wherever they want. I mean, they should have that choice. And the president put forward a vision, a bold vision, which we discussed as well, including the countries that might be amenable and are amenable to accepting Palestinians of their free choice if they choose to go there. And I think that's the second thing that we discussed. But the hostages came right on top.
So enabling the people of Gaza to free choice of where they want to go. The question is where are they going to go? Is it going to be good for the rest of the freaking world? And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. Because right now, there's a lot of people from Hamas that are defecting and moving back into the Palestinian society. And if you take those idiots and you put them back into Israel proper, they're just going to turn around and murder Israelis. Now, there is a rumor going around right now that it is possible that one of the relocation sites, because again, Gaza is going to need completely and totally rebuilt. I mean, let's just take a look at this place for a quick second. It's going to need rebuilt, and it's not going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a long time as they're rebuilding this. And all of this is the consequences of their actions. You go into another country, murder a crap ton of people, take a bunch of hostages, and then strangle babies. Well, yeah, your homeland might end up looking like this. And so where are they going to go? Well, the word on the street is right now that there is a very real possibility that they might get relocated over into Syria. That's right, Syria. Now, why would they go to Syria? You have a de facto government that wants to establish a Sunni Islamic caliphate that used to side with ISIS and everybody else. Yeah, let's give it a try. Let's take these radical Islamist extremists that strangle babies and stick them over inside of another country where you literally have a man that was fighting to establish a Sunni Islamic caliphate for over a decade, then put on a suit and tie. I'm sure this is going to turn out great. Now, why do they think it's going to turn out great? Probably because Trump thinks he's going to be friends with Erdogan.
I hope that's not going to be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem. Now, with that being said, I believe it was Turkey, and I said that to him. I said it. I said, congratulations. You've done what nobody's been able to do in 2,000 years. You've taken over Syria with different names, but same thing. I said, you've taken it over. He's taken it over through surrogates. He goes, no, it was not me. I said, it was you. But that's okay. You don't have to say, well, sort of maybe it was me. Okay. But what he did, he said, look, he's a tough guy and he's very smart. And he did something that nobody was able to do. You know, you got to hand it to him. Any problem that you have with Turkey, I think I can solve. I mean, as long as you're reasonable. You have to be reasonable. We have to be reasonable.
So there we have Trump telling Netanyahu that he needs to be reasonable. Now, what he's actually referring to is the fact that the moment HTS started to take over Syria, you started to see Turkish forces push into Syria from the north. And there is current rumors that plenty of Turkish armor is rolling into Syria as we speak and is backing up HTS inside of Syria. And if it's the case that we're going to be moving Palestinians in there, well, this might be the reason why. But the only problem is Trump thinks that Like Turkey's going to play ball with them, but he also thought that he was going to be able to get a ceasefire over inside of Ukraine within no time at all. So clearly, I think there's a little bit of disconnect when it comes to some of these people's like ideology, especially when you start going to like the radical ideology of like some of these people's beliefs, such as Putin, such as Erdogan, such as the Ayatollahs, such as Hamas. I think maybe he might be a little bit disconnected from there. And unfortunately, for the people of the world, we're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way.
We also discussed the situation in Syria. We've had neighborly relations with Turkey that have deteriorated, and we don't want to see Syria being used by anyone, including Turkey, as a base for attack in Israel. Turkey is a country that has a great relationship with the United States. The president has a relationship with the leader of Turkey. We discussed how we can avoid this conflict in a variety of ways, and I think we can't have a better interlocutor than the President of the United States for this purpose. And of course, we also discussed Iran. Look, we're both...
Now, why would he be talking about Turkey and worried about Turkey going over and attacking him? It's a serious concern, and I don't blame him for it. Like just the other day, as you can see here in this article, it actually looks like Israel and Turkey ended up trading blows. Literally yesterday, this article ends up getting freaking published over Syria as proxy conflict expands. Now, these would be proxy forces that the Israeli Air Force presumably ended up freaking bombing that were attacking Israeli Defense Force soldiers just south of Damascus, because Israel has established a buffer zone to make sure that these radical Islamists don't go and try to overrun Israel, because that would be a great place. But over here inside of this article that you guys can see right up here, the media line, it actually talks about some airstrikes that took place on the 2nd of April over at a T4 airbase in Ankara, where it is said that multiple Turkish citizens were killed. And they said that they were like metal workers or something. I forget. It's some garbage. But either way, you have Turkish people that are inside of Syria that are fighting alongside HTS, or so it would seem. So Netanyahu rightfully is worried about Turkey, and Turkey itself, even last year, made some pretty like mean I don't want to say even use the word mean. They flat out threatened Israel at one point in time for both the war inside Gaza and going after Hezbollah over inside of Lebanon. It's freaking wild that a NATO country did that. And if we end up having the U.S.'s like biggest ally in the Middle East, which would be Israel, going head to head with Turkey, it just wouldn't look good. So this whole problem needs to get under wraps, because the Middle East itself is already in shambles. And again, Trump wants to come out and act like he is kind of going to know how everything's going, but I got a feeling he's going to have to learn the hard way on this one.
Well, I have great relations with a man named Erdogan. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
And I happen to like him, and he likes me, and I know the press will get very angry. He likes Erdogan, but I do, and he likes me, and we've never had a problem, and we've gone through a lot, and we've never had a problem. We've always got, as you remember, we got our minister back from Turkey. You remember that? And this was a big deal at the time, and we got him back. And I told the prime minister, I said, just, Bibi, if you have a problem with Turkey, I really think I'm going to be able to work it out. You know, I have a very, very good relationship with Turkey and with their leader, and I think we'll be able to work it out. So I hope that's not going to be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem. Now, with that being said, I believe it was Turkey, and I said that to him. I said it. I said, congratulations. You've done what nobody's been able to do in 2,000 years. You've taken over Syria.
You get it, right? You get it. Like he thinks that he's going to be friends with Erdogan when all of this crap kicks off. But what he doesn't understand is like the radical ideology that goes behind these people. And I think Trump's going to end up learning this the hard way, to be perfectly honest with you. So to be clear, all of the things that we ended up covering up until this point include, number one, where the Palestinians are going to end up getting relocated. Number two, that the U.S., after that phone call, likely is considering a peace deal, again with Hamas, based on pressure from Macron, based on pressure from the Egyptian president, and based on pressure from the King of Jordan. And today, additionally, we might as well bring this up before we move into what the SecDef had to say about the Houthis over inside Yemen, because right now there's rumor of some sort of a ground offensive that might be taking place, possibly involving U.S. SOF, but other than that, some proxy organizations going into Yemen to start stomping out the Houthis. But before we even get into that,
it's been a bad 3 weeks for the Houthis, and it's about to get worse. It's been a devastating campaign, whether it's underground facilities, weapons manufacturing, bunkers, troops in the open, air defense assets. We are not going to relent. And it's only to get more unrelenting until the Houthis declare they will stop shooting at our ships. And we've been very clear with the Iranians as well. They should not continue to provide support to the Houthis, and that message has been made very clear. So we have a lot more options and a lot more pressure to apply, and we know, because we see the reports, how devastating this campaign has been in them, and we will not relent.
Okay, cool. So let's keep the pressure on the Houthis. But what about Iran? What the hell are we going to do about Iran? The people that have been supplying them the whole time. Well, Trump came out today and he said that they're going to be engaging in direct talks with Iran on Saturday. So everything put pause hold until Saturday, when we're supposed to be having these peace talks with Iran that are supposed to take place. I believe it was like over in Qatar. Well, immediately after the White House briefing, after Trump had said that, political leaders from Iran ended up coming out and saying, no, that's not true. We're not going to have direct talks. We're going to have indirect talks. And to me, this seems like the exact same thing that Russia did when Trump came out of his meeting and he said, guess what? The meeting with Putin went great. We're going to be working on peace deals. We're going to have a great talk and everything's going to go fine. And then the next thing you know, Russia turns around and blasts missiles. It, to me, definitely makes it appear to be like both Russia and Iran are acting out of the same playbook of trying to make Trump look a little bit incompetent. And they're doing a pretty dang good job of it, because you even have other people that are coming out and saying, no, you know what? Trump doesn't necessarily know what he's doing. And I now see people quoting Iran saying that either POTUS was lying or that POTUS was incorrect or that POTUS has issues, instead of just the obvious, which would be Iran and Russia lie. I mean, let's be honest. Iran and Russia lie. Iran, the people with hundreds of pounds of 60% enriched uranium that don't need it, claiming that they're not building up a nuclear weapons program, that are in direct violation of the nuclear proliferation treaty that they are signatories to. That Iran, yeah, those ones. They're the ones that are saying that didn't happen. But hey, we should definitely take their word over the president of the United States. And then we got idiots like this that are out there. Tucker Carlson. I guess. Whatever you think of the tariffs, it's clear that now is the worst possible time for the United States to participate in a military strike in Iran. We can't afford it. Thousands of Americans would die. Thousands of Americans would die. We lose the war that follows. Nothing would be more destructive to our country, and yet we're closer than ever, thanks to unrelenting pressure from neocons. This is suicidal. Anyone advocating for conflict with Iran is not an ally of the United States, but an enemy. Now, I said earlier that Trump definitely didn't understand the leadership and that's ridiculous ideology over in the Middle East. I mean, you know who doesn't really understand it? This guy, Tucker Carlson. Holy freaking crap. He's still getting his advice from Douglas McGregor. I know, I saw it the other day. He had him on his show. The guy that hasn't got a damn thing right on Ukraine or the Middle East for a really long time. Yeah, that's where he's getting his advice from. No, Iran speaks the language of violence. And the United States needs to get on their freaking playing field and speak the exact same language of them, which is going to be violence, in order to get anything done. For far too long, Iran has mistaken kindness for weakness. So do I think that the United States is doing the correct thing over inside of the Middle East? Well, yes, I do. Yesterday, I showed you guys this gentleman. He did a very, very good breakdown, and I showed you on a live session. Maybe it was last night, but he did a very good breakdown of all of the strikes over inside of the Middle East. And he put out a brand new one today. And math does math, and it checks out. And he did an analysis on a couple of these different locations and just exactly what it would end up taking to get them done. And as you can see, he breaks it down by munition type, how many freaking strikes it would take in order to get down there, and everything else. And at the end of the day, we do have the capability in order to take them out. And some of these different locations, you're talking about 3 or 4 separate strikes in order to reach the facilities that are buried deep within the ground. But you got to remember, we have a massive arsenal and we have that capability. And these different strikes, we're not talking about maybe just one bomb that falls and we come back the next day and drop another one on it. We're talking about in succession, just hammering these dang things into the ground. And we have the aircraft and capabilities to make that happen within just a matter of minutes. So I appreciate all the research and effort that Dan has put into everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Speak the Truth broadcast. I will see you tonight, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I'm out of here.